Hello YouTube audience. I recently posted this wood farm on Reddit, and I promised to make a video about it, so this is that video. Welcome to that video. The first chunk of this video is going to be about what makes wood farms work and why exactly this wood farm was able to be 15% more efficient than the previously super popular Steam community build that many YouTubers have advertised and many people have built in their world so far. So if you're here just to know how to build this farm and you don't care about all the technical stuff, I have timestamped the video. Please feel free to jump to the tutorial section and you're good to go. And just before I get into the technical stuff, I want to answer the most frequently asked question about farms like this, which is a very valid, okay, but why? And totally valid question. The answer is really just for fun. I mean, the truth is, if you're playing this game casually and you just want to have a good time and play Core Keeper, you might not even need a wood farm. And if you do need a wood farm, you could absolutely build the most primitive, basic wood farm that doesn't have super fast rates. And if you need it to be a little bit more efficient, or not even more efficient, but just produce more wood, you could just expand it. But it's just fun to optimize these things. I'm the kind of nerd who sees a system that can be more efficient and just wants to solve that puzzle. So, granted, there are some use cases for having a lot of wood in the game. You can use your wood to craft a whole bunch of stuff just to max out your crafting stat. You can also just run it through a ton of sawmills to make coins, or run it through a bunch of sawmills to make planks, and then sell those planks for coins, which completely solves your need for coins for late game when you're trying to upgrade a lot of stuff. Or you can even combine those two methods by crafting the spike trap, which you can also sell for 1 coin apiece, and then you're getting both experience and coins out of the same wood, so that's kind of cool. But ultimately, yeah, you don't need a super efficient wood farm. It's just fun stuff. So now let's get into the technical things. So, in order to start learning about wood farms, I had to go look online and see things, because I didn't want to test literally everything myself. And I found this video by Dakon's Madhouse, where he was comparing 2 different wood farms. One new wood farm that he had created, and the usual Steam farm that I compared my farm to. And before I say anything about the efficiency of these farms, I do want to mention that simplicity of build is an important aspect of these farms. And although the result of that video was that Dakon's farm was not as efficient as the Steam community farm, his farm is by far the easiest to build. So if you're not worried about max efficiency, by all means just go build that one, because it'll save you a lot of time. But if you are worried about efficiency, then let's look at these farms and figure out why one is in fact outperforming the other. So when I looked at these 2 farms, I first realized right away that the number of connections that each seed has to the network is different, right? Because you have the back ones of all the right side farm having 3 full connections to the network, whereas in Dakon's farm, they all only have 1. So I figured that could have something to do with it, and I wanted to build something to test it. So I built this gigantic monstrosity. And when I eventually finished this took forever to build, by the way, I realized that not only was my farm slower, which I figured it might be simply because of the seed density. I made them the same size, but if you need to have wood next to every seed, then obviously you can't have as many seeds in the same area. But the other farm outperformed my farm by more than just the seed density ratio, so clearly I had a lot more learning to do. But one thing I had learned from failing this is the fact that the number of connections definitely does not matter, which is ultimately what led to the design of my farm, because I knew that I could get away with just 1. Because this taught me that the seed growth algorithm is always going to do whatever it can not to fail. It will check multiple networks and it will check multiple places. So something else about the layout was wrong. And to figure that out, I had to learn about what the actual wood growth algorithm is and things like max range. And so I built a whole bunch of stuff to figure that out. One thing I needed to know right away was just the actual max range of a single seed. So I placed a seed down and made a diagonal grid of torches around it and decided to just let it grow. I made sure that the cardinal directions were open because that should be able to show me the maximum distance that 1 wood seed can actually grow. And sure enough, this is the actual answer. It's a 5-block radius, which is kind of a funny thing to say in a blocky game, but technically it's just a full circle of 5-block radius around the seed, where if the center of that block is included in that circle, then that's part of the range, and if the center of that block is not in that circle, then that's not part of the range. Or that's how this game decided to translate circles to squares. Then after realizing that it wasn't about the number of connections that each seed has to the network, I had to figure out what the other issue was, because all of those seeds in either farm are within that range to produce wood. Yet clearly some seeds are in fact failing to produce wood, because both farms had the same number of seeds. So something else was causing the wood spawn event to fail. I decided to just be a computer science nerd and think about how that wood growth algorithm must be written. So if we think about a single seed block, and we know that it's trying to grow a new wood block, and we know that it's trying its best not to fail, we have to try to simulate what that would have to do. So the first thing that it would have to do logically is survey how many networks it's connected to, and randomly make a decision of either trying to make a new network or growing into one of those networks. Now, in the case of all these wood farms, you block off all of the other possible options, so it's always going into an existing network. But once it's in that network, what is it actually trying to do to grow? And I think the answer is it travels down the network. At any point where it needs to make a decision, it randomly chooses which one to go down, and then it continues down that path until it either finds a new place where it can place a new block, or it finds that there are no new places where it can place a block, and at that point it goes back to the last place where it made a decision and tries to go down the network in a different direction. Or if that whole network fails and it's connected to a secondary network, it'll try the whole algorithm again on that network. And once I had that understanding, it made absolute sense that this farm was faster because all of these seeds are connected to one network, but they're all able to reach multiple different places where they can place their wood. That's when I started to reconstruct these farms in Excel and just let myself really visually see what's really going on here. So I marked out wood blocks as orange, seed blocks as green, and the drills as red. Then, since I knew how the range and everything worked, in all the green spaces, I filled out how many spots it could actually reach. And the first thing that was really cool was when I made that second farm design, and I realized that it has a smaller footprint, but the same number of total seeds, but a higher total reachable, meaning the number of seeds and how far they can all reach. And with it being just a little bit higher, and then comparing those two farms, it was in fact just a little bit more productive. But then I could absolutely let my farm take up the full footprint as the old farm, and that allowed me to get 10 more seeds and a 10 more total reachable count, and that is what led to this. The Steam farm had produced just under 3,400, and my farm had produced just under 3,900. For a total difference of 14.6, though I've casually been saying 15%. So if you've liked the video so far, I'd really appreciate a like or a comment, and I feel like I should let you know that I do in fact stream this game on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 8 p.m. EST. But now, let's get on to the actual build. So now let's jump into how to actually build this farm. So, in this chest is everything you're going to need to build the farm. Just a bunch of floor tiles. You don't need 2 different floor tiles. I'm just using that to make it easier for you to follow along. And obviously a hoe, watering can, the arms to collect stuff, as is the chest, and of course the drills are going to be your automatic collection thing. You can use a lever or a power generator to actually power all your components. It really doesn't matter. But for right now, I'm just going to grab the 2 floor tiles and start marking out where the farm is going to go. So the first thing you want to do is mark out all of your 2x3 sections that will eventually be seed blocks. So I'm going to do all of that with the stone floor here. Oops. And then I'm going to move on to the other floor tile. This is not where seeds are going to go. This is just going to be keeping everything within the wood farm trapped in, right? So that wood can't grow outside of this perimeter. And for the back, as of right now, I'm actually going to do 2 rows here, just because it's a lot easier to build the farm like 4 blocks tall and then do the 5 blocks tall part after the fact. So by doing this, I know the wood is never going to grow too far when I'm replacing the next ones, or replacing that last row, or extending that last row. Yeah, that one. So now we need to grab our hoe, watering can, and seeds, and you want to pick one of the centermost sections of your farm and just take out one of your seed marking floors, throw in the seed, water it, and then wait like 20 minutes, and when you come back it'll have grown a whole bunch of wood. And to finish this farm, it's actually very easy. All you have to do is remember that for these back 2 rows, you can add another seed as long as its 1 wood block has grown in. And for the front row, you can add its seed as long as the 2 neighboring tiles here and here have grown in. And I already made a mistake here. This should actually be filled in right here. You didn't need this last row. You only want 1 block of space between all of your 2x3 little cells. Okay, so I don't know how long it's been exactly, but I'm back now. And we can see that some of our wood has grown. So just like I said earlier, any of the back 2 rows, as long as they have their one neighboring wood, we can add their seeds in. Whoops, not that one. Like so. And for the front 2, as long as it has its 2 neighboring seeds, we can add that one in. So we'll add that one in, and that one in, and water those 2. And then, again, go on, play the game, do whatever you gotta do, and just check on it like every hour or so. And yeah, just keep doing that until the whole farm is filled in. And then I'll come back to you when we need to do the back row, because there's a little bit of technical knowledge you need for that last row. Alright, so just came back to check on the farm once again, and we can see we have a whole bunch of seeds we can put in. So we can put in this entire row, because the bottom one has its neighboring 2, and the top ones have their 1. So we put those in and water. Likewise with this side. And over here we can get all of these in. And finally all of these as well. I'm actually going to go ahead and place these ones in a little bit early, because realistically, the wood will grow to right here before these reach maturity anyway, so it's not a huge deal. So I'm going to go for that right there, and this right here. Because you don't really need the wood block to actually be in place before you place the seed. You just need to make sure that the wood block is in place before the seed reaches full maturity, because that's when it's going to connect to the root node. In fact, if a seed block is fully matured, and the root block is not already next to it, it will not grow into that space. So this is kind of like taking a risk, but it's gonna happen. We already have so many seeds in here that these are gonna pop in no time. Those actually popped in right away, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the last 3 as well, which is actually pretty safe to do, because typically, as soon as one of these seeds does reach maturity, it also adds 1 to the network. So we've got 6 seeds right here about to reach maturity, and we only need 4 blocks left for this to be safe. So I'm gonna go ahead and add those, and then I'll leave it alone for a while, and I'll come back when I need to add the final row of seeds along the back. Okay, so our wood farm is pretty much fully built here. We just need to add the last row now. By the way, this already is a little bit more efficient than the Steam Community Farm, and it's only 4 blocks tall. If you're looking at it per tile basis, it's actually significantly more efficient. But right now it's like 1% faster than the usual farm. But yeah, let's add the last row here. So we're just gonna put our drills in place, because we need to know where our drills are going to be to figure out how to build that last... That was weird, I got warped by the drill. To figure out how to build that last row. So we're gonna throw our drills in, just spaced out one at a time. Of course, lined up with the edges, that's important. Otherwise you'd be wasting a valid wood spawn space. And then all you gotta do is when you're in this top row here, if you're on a row that lines up with the new, like with the current gap in the drills, you just take that out and put a seed there. If, however, you're lined up, your next spine lines up with the drill itself, then what you want to do is actually take out these 3 tiles and place your seeds here and here. And you just repeat that. So if the spine lines up with the gap, then you take it out, put the seed in. If your spine lines up with the drill, then you take out these 3 and put seeds in here and here. And repeat that until you're done. And then you're ready to turn the farm on and get some pretty crazy fast wood rates. So let's just wire this up. That is not the chest I wanted to add. We'll grab our wires, our lever, a robot arm, and a chest. And we'll make sure those are all actually on our hotbar. And let's wire everything together real quick. I'll throw a lever right here, that's good enough. And I'll throw my robot arm here with a chest here, and that should collect everything for us. And yeah, these aren't fully grown yet, but there's no reason not to turn the farm on right away. You don't need to worry about these 4 tiles, because as you can see, the drills will remove them. And now, once these grow in, it will grow to max efficiency. And this farm is now running at 15% higher than this farm that we all know and love and we've seen all over the internet. Or at least if you're a nerd and you looked up wood farms online, then you've seen it all over the internet. But yeah, that's it. That's the whole wood farm. And of course you can expand this as much as you want. Just remember the rules of how to add the back ones, and for these ones, it's just once that one is in place, you're good. And for the front row, it has to have those two. But you can keep building this like 3-block chunk off to the side as much as you want. You can expand this farm to be 100 blocks long if you really wanted it to. So yeah, enjoy your new wood farm. Congratulations.